Will they make the semi-finals? Or where will they?
Incidentally, the question is asked by Mr. Ivan Krasto. He's from his family of famous sports journalists. He's also my hockey captain in school. And so I have to answer as best as I can. Going by a couple of indicators, one is the rankings, where we are 6th. We were 3rd, we're now down to 6th because the ranking system is more dynamic now. And going by the tournaments that have been played recently, where we have played, after the Olympics, in Asia Cup we were bronze medalists because we didn't send the main team. In the FI Pro League, we are now standing 4th. It's midway through. So we've done reasonably well, though we lost the series against Australia.
But we played really well in Australia. Yes.
Well, so I think we are good medal contenders. I'm not saying that we are going to win the trophy, but there's one reason I feel that we have a good chance. Most teams are either rebuilding or they have older players. Belgium has 4 players who have played more than 400 games or 300 games. And they have another 4 players who are close to 300 games. So they have a very aging team. The other teams like Germany and Holland have very young players. The only team that has a balance of blend of youth and experience is Australia, and the other one is us. Many of these players are young, but they have played a lot of hockey at international level. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us. If this batch finishes off their term, we may not get a similar batch for a few more years. So they have a lot of confidence because of the Olympics. So I'm confident they will do very well. And if we top the pool, we go directly into the quarterfinals. Adrian was mentioning about the new format. So out of the 4 teams in the pool, the team that tops goes directly to the quarterfinals. The 2nd and 3rd play a crossover. Yeah. So, but coming top of our pool is a challenge. We have England and we have Spain. Both are wonderful teams. So to qualify, we have to be on the top of our game. But it's the best chance to win. We have a balanced team and a fairly experienced team. So I'm hopeful that they will come back with a medal. I won't say that they would win, but definitely a strong medal contender.
Thanks.
India, Pakistan. You guys have come up with many stories. There have been many anecdotes and stories out of India-Pakistan games, and you just came out with some great stuff, cool stuff. Will you miss Pakistan this time? They have not been qualifying of late, but there must be something like keen to watch India-Pakistan, but they never qualify, and there are a lot of things they are lacking in their system. So will you miss them, and how much? Somaya and Adrian and anybody who has some great anecdotes.
As a sports lover, as a hockey lover, yes. Pakistan have played such creative and such positive hockey. They've never been defense oriented. So as a lover of hockey and a lover of sport, definitely we will miss them. And we are very keen, at least personally I feel I've played some wonderful matches. I went to Pakistan 9 times, 4 different test series, so many tournaments. So I'm a great admirer of their game, hoping for the benefit of world hockey that they come back. Because their style of hockey is different. They've always been creative and very aggressive in attack, which attracts people. So personally, I would miss them. I'm hoping that at some time or the other, in the near future, that they get back onto the international scene.
I think everyone in this room would want to watch an Indo-Pak match. There is, no matter what sport we play, even one chess game would be enough to watch. India-Pakistan is going to be a great game. In fact, I have to thank Sohail Abbas in certain ways, because if not for him, I would not have made so many articles in the papers, because it became like a 1v1, which we also didn't know about it. But as Somaya sir said, they really need a transition. Because now we have all established the fact, it's like, for example, I think now the debate over Messi and Ronaldo is over, completely. So the debate of India-Pakistan is also over right now in present hockey. So we are not only ranked 6th because we are doing well certain days, but we are consistent. Whereas Pakistan needs to get there. And as Sir said, I think we all, and Edgar has played the World Cup there. Like Lahore, that's like a mansion, I think that's like a mecca of Pakistan hockey. Because while I went to play the league there, we have almost the same rule that we could not leave the rooms and all that stuff. But luckily we also kind of have the same skin type, so I could just sneak out sometimes. But yeah, it was a league. But and Adnan Zakir, so he was a Karachi local, so they compare Mumbai to, as in this thing, Karachi is Mumbai. So they say, ye apna Mumbai hai, okay, dekhte thoda Mumbai. But we all love to play against Pakistan. Even when you go back home, even if you lose, I think the one person who's really angry is your family. And as a goalkeeper, it's like, you conceded a goal and the Salman Akbar played well. Like, these were the conversations I've grown up with. I'm like, okay, but why you are supporting him? Usne acha khela aaj. But end of the day, India-Pakistan players also have a very good relationship. Because no matter how we are on the field, there's no mercy, there's no peace. But off the field, we always end up saying, Bhaijan, kya ho gaya? So we will miss Pakistan, and hopefully they have a good transition and they actually come up in the top 10. Yeah.
Actually, the sport of hockey needs Pakistan, because India-Pakistan is a different dynamic. It will add a different dynamic to the sport, and it's like the Europeans are dominating or the South Americans are coming. India-Pakistan is very key for viewership. You know how important it is, eyeballs watching. So Pakistan is very important. As Adrian said, the guys who looked after us in Pakistan were the Pakistan players.
Okay.
Yeah, they used to come to our room, they used to look after us, kya chahiye aapko, kya chahiye. It was very warm between the players. On the ground, it was warm, but once you're off the ground, all the players, we were best friends.
Somaya, all three will answer this question.
Sorry. Before that, sir. The only card in my life I've got is against Pakistan. Yellow card. Yeah. Something happened. As in, I deserved that yellow card, but it was in the heat of the moment. Like, you made a save, and then you went to save the rebound, but there was a player lying down, and you kind of walked. As in, as a goalkeeper, what do you say? You just walked over it. By mistake. But that was the first time Srijesh got an opportunity in the junior team, and we lost, and Harinder Singh was our coach, so imagine what happened to me after the match. But sorry, sir, that was the only time I got a yellow card, and I have no regret. I'm just feeling sad that we lost that match.
Yeah, Somaya, what do you think the team would have done, the Hockey India? They also have played team management coaching from Tokyo to the World Cup here in terms of strategy. What do you think they would have focused on overall? And Adrian, we can also say, because we can talk a lot about Srijit. What would they have told Srijit? The areas we grow, does he have to be told it all? There's also vision for it. But also, you talked about the fitness and recovery. Do you think how much they would have worked on it?
See, I think the important thing for the management on their hand was to ensure that people who are a little aging, to find adequate substitutes for them. So they used the Asia Cup and the other tournaments to identify youngsters. So from that exercise, Abhishek and Sukhjit, who are now coming to the team, and Jarmanpreet. So these are the three that they tried out, amongst others. They tried out a host of youngsters in the intervening tournaments. And from them they identified these three players who are going to play. Suraj also was given a chance for that. So he probably is waiting in the wings. Very unfortunate to miss a place in the World Cup team. But this is the first thing that the management had to do, is to try and get younger legs into and probably guys who have many more years ahead. The second part, what Edgar had mentioned about fitness, both the physical trainers who were in charge of physical conditioning left after the Olympics. So they had to identify very strong replacements, because that was the strength of the team, like he said. So they have been able to identify those people worked with the team for 6, 7 or 8 years. So for them to come in, settle down, know players, have person-specific training. It's not one size fits all. Got to have training based on an individual's, body, his capacity to take training. So these were the two important things of getting the team prepared. But I think the good part they have done was exposing the team to matches. It's not, when we were there, we used to play 7-8 months in training camp. So they have given chance, exposure for the team. There's been a combination of training as well as match exposure. So these are the things that they have done in the intervening period with the objective to raise the performance of the team and move them from the third position up to a higher position. That's what I think that.
If you talk about one change in rule, which was destructive as far as Asian hockey is concerned, what will you do?
You can say that for the benefit of all.
Yeah.
You can say that again, please. Sorry.
One destructive rule as far as Asian hockey is concerned.
Destructive.
Destructive.
That hampered Asian hockey.
I think the recent rules have all worked in our favor, because what I feel we have benefited from is the 4 quarters where you get breathing space after every 15 minutes. We benefited from the rolling substitution where people now play for a short burst of 10-15 minutes and then you get some recovery period of 10-15 minutes before coming on again. And the other one is the self-start rule where you don't need to make a pass. So I feel all these rules that have come in have worked in our benefit. You could say this in the past, when the sticks rule was changed or the turning rule had changed. But in these 3, and I feel one of the reasons that we are doing well is that these 3 rules are working in the favor of Asian teams and making them more effective and probably a consistency right from the first match to the last match. Otherwise, we would play in patches, we would play 1 or 2 good matches and probably the fitness level is to get hit. Here, we are playing only for a 15-20 minute burst, coming off, resting and going. I think that suits our style. And that's the reason I feel that these 3 rules in particular have helped Asia.
Well, personally, I feel now there's a rule where if you break the line in penalty corners, you have to go to the half line, which means I couldn't charge anymore. Like personally, that I always found that offensive when the rule was implied, and because there were not many goalkeepers charging, and it kind of hit me personally, which is fine. But India, as Sir said, has used these rules. In the start, it was hard, especially the self-start rule.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was everybody in Europe were doing it except India. Let's take, for example, 4 quarters. When did 4 quarters come in our national leagues? It came much later. Whereas in Europe, they had already practiced, they were already using it. By the time it would come to India, we were still playing 2 halves. So all these things in the start was a bit of a hurdle for the Indian team. But today, as Sir said, it's so important to get that 2 minutes break. Even if you're not hearing or listening to your coach, because at that point of time your mind is somewhere else, and if you have a coach who's just humming at you or ye karna hai, wo karna hai, nothing goes in any player's head. But it's so important to breathe. It's so important to calm down. Whereas other teams like Australia, they don't need this. They don't. They're happy with 35 because they have 1 goal and 1 goal only, play to the whistle. Whereas we would look at the time, last 2 minutes hai, 30 seconds hai. Calm down, keep the ball in control. And as viewers, you can always see what's going to happen. Because the moment India is under pressure, we know, okay, abhi penalty corner hona hai. Take for example the Olympics, Germany, the last penalty corner. Like everyone knew there's a penalty corner coming, the way the match was set up. In fact, even Srijesh knew it's going to be a penalty corner. There was so much pressure. It's for that magical save that happened, we got what we got at that given day. So the rules have now we have learned to adapt and make use of them. In fact, even as Manpreet mentions about, his biggest asset today is the fast start. Because he already has a vision where he knows what he's going to do, but nobody knows it, only him. So the moment he gets there, he just starts, and then he might either go all attack or he might just rotate. So we have been using these rules to our benefits, and hopefully we kind of make completely use of that in the World Cup.
However, there are two rules which sometimes I feel where it's left to the discretion of the umpire, where I feel I've been watching on TV that I feel we are getting the wrong end of the stick. One is where they give a card, even for a tackle stick on stick check, they give a green card. And we invariably are playing with 10 players. If you see in any of the tournaments that we play, they are so strict with that rule, especially against India, that there are many green cards and yellow cards shown. And invariably for about 30% or 40% of the match, you're playing one shot. And the second, which is a more recent rule, if you, on the baseline, when you're defending, if you push the ball out, even, normally it used to be given a long corner. Now it's a penalty corner. So it's a very recent rule in the last one or two tournaments. So by chance, even if you deflect the ball on behind your baseline, penalty corner. So these two rules have been, working against us if you ask. But the rest of the rules, I agree with Adrian, we've adapted well.
What about the no offside one?
That's been in vogue for many years. So we have adapted well to that. We play that formation very well, when we play the poaching forwards, we have Mandeep, who plays that role excellently well. Mandeep, Akashdeep, they play the poaching forward very well. They play two people up front. So they play the long scoop to the baseline. And there, another rule comes in where the defender cannot run and meet the attacker. So that's a rule which probably is very difficult for the defender. Because once the scoop is made and your attacker is standing in the circle, you have to give him a 5-yard distance for him to receive the ball. So it seems to be a little unfair to the defender. So that rule has come into vogue. We are adapting to it. But if we play this rule and we play the long scoop, it can be an asset to which we have long scoopers from our team, which we use it to our benefit.
And now that Somaya sir said that, that's where quick start comes in use. So the moment you made a foul as a defender, and even if you turn behind or you stay there and Manpreet does a quick start and you try to tackle, it's a penalty corner. That was one which was destructive for us in the start because it was such a habit, right? Because we all grew up stick niche, tackle karo. But we forgot that we have to be 5 yards the moment the ball has started. So we would just go with that intention. By the time the player realizes like it's a penalty corner, and then baaki to pata hai kya hota. So that would be destructive. But now in the present scenario, we are kind of using it against the other teams.
So, coming to this stick check rule, like interesting point you made of the green cards. Is it something we've not learned as youngsters? Are we not strict with our players at the under 12, under 14, 16 levels? Young coaches here, maybe you've got a tip for them?
Definitely, especially in the north, when you play, they play very robust style of hockey. Earlier it used to be rough when we were playing. Some of the marks on our, is because of the style of hockey they used to play. But at that time they used to not show cards.
Yes.
But even now, very often you find these hard tackles. So you get away in domestic hockey. So you tend by nature, naturally it comes to you. But the other thing I'm not whinging, but I sometimes feel that the umpires are pretty strict on Indian teams. I'm not whinging, but but that's the way I for these reasons.
Either Somaya sir or Adrian can take this because you know how it is to play at home a World Cup. This is our second straight World Cup at home. The last time we lost in the quarter. So for this team, especially coming at the back of the Olympic medal, do you think a World Cup at home can sort of spur them, or is it added pressure, or how do you look?
Well, firstly, I think it's a mix of both. And if we have to talk about Tokyo Olympics, I think one of the main reasons why I personally feel, and I'm sure now if you track back what happened during the Tokyo Olympics, was every player, we have Suraj, I think every player had to do a COVID test every second day or every day. They couldn't meet anyone. These guys were together for almost a year or so, in that we all knew what happened to us as individuals living in Mumbai or wherever we were. Even to travel was a hassle. Whereas these guys, I think that's where their bonding happened. Like how do you say, like sometimes some situations create some magical events, and that is one major reason why India was so strong in the Tokyo Olympics, is because they all lived together for 300 and plus days, or eventually how many days, whereas the foreign players, they have the system where they have to follow a program, and probably 1 month or 3 weeks before the tournament, they all meet up in one place. They couldn't do that because everybody was in their house, and you know how they are with their rules. Like if you cannot go, you cannot go. Yeah, at least we'll show some fake ID card and move around. But there, you couldn't go. So by the time they developed, India had actually grown to a level where the way women's played. Like I've never watched women's hockey, reach that level in such a short span of time. Yes, the coach did a great job, the management was there, but the unity, that all happened during that lockdown or whatever we call it, but during the COVID time. And that you can see them taking it to another level. Now coming back to the pressure, the FIH Pro League, and we know whoever's been to Bhubaneswar, whoever's played the HIL, it's a magical place to play hockey. Like New Delhi, respect, but playing in Bhubaneswar and Rourkela, I would really want to play, like get back and probably give a battle to Srijesh and try and get my spot back. But it's a place where there's going to be pressure, no doubt. We are Indians. We can't take losing. The moment you see your team is losing, some words will come out which are not helpful or not grateful to your teammates. But the way the team has been being together, and as Edgar said, the back office, you have Shivendra Singh, which not many people are talking about, which I agree, because let's deal with it. He's also been a World Cupper. He used to always salute after scoring a goal. But today he's not only teaching the forwards the skills, but he's also helping the goalkeepers. It's so important to have a player like him who's coaching a goalkeeper or training goalkeepers, because he knows the weakness of a goalkeeper. But as a team-wise, the first 2 matches are so important for India, because that sets up your tone and your consistency matters. So whatever happens by the time we reach Wales, it all starts from the entire system. But Rourkela it actually looks like the Olympic Games, or I think the next Asian Games is going to be in Rourkela or Bhubaneswar. I think that is the next goal. But the advantage we have as the Indian team is that we've been so united together since the entire COVID, not only between us but also between the team, that this looks like it's going to be, as we all are hoping, that our tournament.
Two quick questions, one to Somaya, one to the rest of the panel. One is, we are all having memories of the old 5-3-2 system. What system are we playing these days? Is it different for every match? And second question to the panel is, what explains Belgium's rise in the last decade?
Earlier, during our time, there used to be a rigidity of systems. So the first time the 5-3-2 mold was broken was in the '84 Olympics, when we played 4 halfbacks. And it raised so much of a hue and cry, because changing the traditional system was never considered. It was felt India and Pakistan should always play this 5-3-2. But now with the removal of the offside rule, formations have got more fluid. So you play a formation based on the situation of the game. So notice now, there is versatility in the player. If a player is a defender, he can also overlap as a midfielder. And midfielders and forward line players also can adjust to each other's position. Never like that, I played right half right through my life. I didn't play any other position. So it is not like that anymore. So it is because of the change in the offside rule, you can poach a player up front, or you can pull all behind based on the requirement of the game. So there are different formations they play. They start off with maybe 4 in the midfield, but later on, based on the situation of the game, you can change. But always there are maybe 3 deep defenders, and the rest of the field, midfielders and the forward line, they are interchangeable, and there's no rigid formation that you play with. Is the way I look at it. And sometimes they play 2-2-2 like that. They play all 2, so that it's difficult for the opposition to mark. So you're making very difficult. So, but if you have predictable formations like 4-4-2 or 5-3-2, you get marked out easy. So that is the way I look at it. The second part, Belgium. Their national team was a coach from New Zealand, Shane McLeod. So he when he was there, they won the World Cup, they won the European, and they won the Olympics. He's a New Zealand coach, and now he has left the team and gone back. So one of the main reasons was his presence and a very strong structure. They restructured 15 years back to form a structure right from the younger age. So that's the reason why both these two reasons I felt were good for them.
I'll add up to that. Firstly, I'll continue with Belgium. I still remember we went to Boom to play the Champion Challenge, and that's when the first time Mr. Shane was there as a coach, and we used to beat Belgium 4-1. Joachim sir was a coach, and we would, like, it was easy to win Belgium, and nobody was talking about Belgium. But as they were doing all their hidden work, their talent, it all showed up in major events. They would only give chances to other players in all the small tournaments. But once they started winning in major tournaments, they're like, what is happening? And the first thing was obviously Naseeb. They got lucky, but they never got lucky. They worked, and today I think most of the players have 300 plus caps. So I'm sure, I think there are Messi in every spot over there. So Belgium, that has been one of the radical changes. They changed the entire concept of chief coach, how we say. They made it into a manager and the back end. That's one of the biggest changes which Shane McLeod did from New Zealand, and he used it in Belgium. And coming back to your other question was formation. Now let's okay, we have one other boy. You're a hockey player behind you, sir. Yeah? Which position you play? Defense. So you hear that? Like, this is what we need. Back then, as Somaya sir said, he ended up his entire career as a right half. Like, that has changed completely. Now there is no right half, no left half, no right in, no right out, no left out. There is only defense, midfield, forward. 3 and 1 goalkeeper. The beautiful part about Harmanpreet, we always try and adapt a formation where we'll always be 2 versus 1. So even though we are 11v11, we always want to be 2 versus 1. And if you'll notice Harmanpreet, he'll always end up in the opponent's 25 by easily passing through the players and then giving the perfect pass or creating an opportunity. But he's a defender. Those days, if the defender even had to cross the 25 or half line, teri pen da piche out, including the goalkeeper. These were the lines, and that player would be like, "Yaar, मैं जा रहा हूँ, coach मना कर रहा है." Those days are gone, because the moment Harmanpreet goes up, you have a player who's covering his spot, so that midfielder becomes a defender, and Harmanpreet becomes a midfielder. So when you talk about formations, I always feel that formation is only on the paper. Nowadays, those days it mattered a lot. Edgar would be a top central midfielder. He was a creator. Viren, same thing. But if you have to put Viren as a right outer, and we all agree, most of our Mumbai players, when it comes to giving reverse hits or when it comes to hitting, we always were a bit weak because we didn't create that many nurturing in school, where many people would hit. But the formation for me will always remain as it is now. Defense, midfield, forward. So the first line of defense is your forward line. If they tackle, then you're getting a gifted goal. And your first line of attack is a goalkeeper or the defender who starts the ball. So the best part about Harmanpreet, what makes him so different from all the other drag flickers, that he's an exceptional player. He's not only a good drag flicker, he's an exceptional player. When he came to play the Hockey India League, he played for us, Dabang Mumbai. And we still call him Lali. That's a Punjabi word we use. He is still that humble, still that polite, still, wishing, saying, thank you, Paji. Thank you for all the, anytime you wish him. So that's so important in an individual. That he is not only growing as a top player in the world, but he's also growing as a human being and he's creating wonderful events. Hopefully, again, I'm telling you, I've watched him at HIL, and being a goalkeeper, you're always dealing with his drag flicks. He's got that intention of knowing where your leg is going to go. Not many drag flickers know that. Drag flickers, Sandeep Singh will always be good with right down, left top. Raghunath will be good with left top. You know, then you would have Rupinder Pal, amazing right down, amazing power. But Harmanpreet, he will tell you he's going to put between your legs. It's not like Naseeb or luck. He will tell you. That's how good he is.
So, if I may ask, so it is not much of a question. It is more, towards the whole panelist view. So we spoke about having a technical change. We spoke about a structural format change. We are talking about tactical changes on field. We spoke about recovery. Edgar sir spoke about recovery. Adrian sir, emphasis that. So what I wanted to ask is from the lower level, that is the junior level, if we are able to impart the mental toughness training, so don't you think the transitions from a well-formed team to a newbie team will be a lot smoother, and it can have much more better implications when it comes to having a challenging team? And another thing, what I wanted to ask is that, like, I have experience during my playing this thing during school and college and everything, that the temperament of the team, the mental toughness of the team, because you might be going good, but then at some given point, within the first 5-10 minutes when you are just warming up, you get hit left, right, center. You don't know where is who, and you have already, conceded. So don't you think the temperament and the mental toughness will help in having a composure, and this a lot has to do with having pressure situations during the sessions from the early childhood? So I would like to know the view of the panel altogether.
I think Edgar will be the best guy to answer this because he's into the profession.
So I'm right now, I would like to call myself a sports educator because I work in a school. So I'm at the bottom of the pyramid, the sports pyramid. And if we have a strong base at the bottom, so I feel I'm very important, because if I'm good at the bottom, the top will be many more elite athletes. So the base that is in school is critical. The base. So whatever systems we are following on top, it should be streamlined down to the base. So it's a very difficult thing to achieve logistically, because our country is so dynamic. There's not many facilities and all that. But if we have to have a robust elite team on the top, let's say, we need to have a robust system at school level, at the base, because that's when the physical education happens in school. The type of training should come in. From there it goes up, and then we'll get many more elite athletes and many more hockey players and many more gold medals. So we should start. Like Belgium, I think that was what we did. They had a 20-year plan, and they started from the grassroots, and those guys 20 years later won the gold medal.
They copied it from the neighbors.
They followed that system. Belgium, it's a great, you can do a case study of that.
Vivek, the other point with the national team, besides the physical conditioning, we have an entourage of coaches. One is a psychologist, one is an analyst who analyzes the game. We have a nutritionist. So it's an all-round training. It's not only physical conditioning. So Edgar quite rightly said it needs to start right from the base. But it happens with the national team nowadays. Otherwise, in our time, there was only one coach in the 1980 Olympics who handled everything. And later on, there were two coaches, a chief coach and an assistant coach. But today, you have a whole army of people who are working behind the scenes, like he said. So the psychologist plays a very important role. And they use some of the best in the business to ensure that people are, always in sync with what's happening.
Just to add to your, which year did you play actually?
No, he's the sports development officer of our academy.
But has he played? He said
football.
I had played football. Not
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
But like in
no, so I was in
college?
College and university.
So your practice sessions would be warm up, take tries, and then match.
Yes,
Right?
that has been the case.
That has been the case in the Indian team also. Whereas Sir said there would be two coaches. In fact, we would have probably two coaches, one trainer, where the trainer would ragdow you for the first 45 minutes, bhago, 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 including the goalkeepers, which we really hate. And then, chalo match khelo. Coach बैठेगा चाय पीके. One of the goalkeepers or one of the players who injured would be the umpire, and the match would happen. Now, asking you as you're a footballer, what pressure is there in that?
Actually, nothing.
The transition I have actually seen as a player, as being in the national camp, and again, I don't want to give an individual praise to anybody, but the systematic change is that all that has stopped. Now, whenever players are going for a training, they have an entire month schedule. This is your weekly training. This is how you're going to train. They never play a match. They never play a match. I think once a week, maybe just once a week. So imagine the training sessions are so dynamic. They are so intense. They are 3 versus 3, 4 versus 3. You get the entire goal post in the half line. And you are now playing like every time there's a try on the goalkeeper. So till there's no tries on me as a goalkeeper, basically there's no improvement in the forward. Those things have changed, and these are the results we are seeing right now. One coach we really like, we had Mr. Birsa in 2008 and 9, you know. For the first 3 months, he never made us play a game, and we like, imagine all of us, the game kab khelenge? The game hota hi nahi tha. There was nothing as a game. He's like, what is game? I'm going to teach you ABCD. But again, it's such an important thing that everybody was involved. There was a goalkeeper coach, there was a sports psychologist. We didn't have all this before. Like that coach, those two coaches were the ones who would decide the entire team, the entire year calendar, and then the selection process. They would call someone only for selection process for the, for signing and whatever we had to do. But the dynamics have changed so much that by the time now the players are going to play that match on a weekend or whenever they are playing, they all want to win. But imagine playing a match every day for 300 days of your life. By the time the tournament would come, you'll be like, nahi khelna hai match. Because now you played for 300 days. Yeah, because you're mentally strained, you're physically, there's no improvement, there's no, as you said, there's no pressure. So it just becomes an ordinary tournament. So these are great changes in our system which we can see against big games, big teams.
Great opportunity to win, but you have to be on the top of your game even to qualify from the league, because all teams are equally matched. So to my estimate would be a medalist, they would be on the podium this time.
Thank you.
I think we'll make it to the semi-final, but I think our journey may end there. Top four depends on two very important guys on the team. One is Srijesh in goal, and one is Harmanpreet, how many drag flicks he scores. If we rely too much on him, it might be a problem, but these two guys are the key, and it will decide finally where we stand. I think semi-final, top four.
In terms of the key players, as Edgar mentioned, it's so important that we have, I think, around 6 players who have 150 plus caps. And the ones, Harmanpreet will only be seen in a penalty corner when there's a penalty corner created. Which means Mandeep, Akashdeep, anyone who's chipping in, Lalit, anyone who's there. In fact, even Vivek Sagar nowadays creates penalty corners. So, lastly, in the Australia series and even the Pro League, we've seen that India is also scoring field goals. So there are deflection goals happening, there are tries on goals. So it's very important for India to have these key players. Manpreet, you have Amit Rohdas, who's like, I think he's one of the best first rushers. He's basically wearing a goalkeeper kit and running. I've never seen him. I think if I was a goalkeeper right now, knowing that he's there, it would be like when Ignace and Dhanraj Anna, all these guys were running your first rushers, that you're so confident that angle is just taken care of. And in a penalty corner situation, before any team, including Germany, not Australia that much, but Netherlands, Pakistan, if they would get 4 penalty corners, they would score at least 3 or 2. Today, I think in every tournament, you're seeing at least 8 or 6 penalty corners, and the conversion rate is either 1 or 2. So it's so important to also get field goals. Now coming to where I see India, my prediction is India needs to win this tournament. Yes, getting a silver and bronze will give you hope for the next World Cup, but let's deal with reality. I think we don't know when the next World Cup will happen in India with this aura. And in the Olympics, you can always have a silver and bronze medal, and you feel you have that moment. But here, there is no silver trophy, there is no bronze trophy. It's that World Cup which we all seen, and probably because of the entire system, you don't know whom India is going to meet. At least in the start, you would know first 2 matches, if you qualify, you're going to meet this team. Right now, we don't know from Pool C if we're going to meet, or we're going to meet someone from other pools. So I really personally want India to win, and that is going to change a lot of things for the young guys and for us and for every hockey fan. So as long as Somaya sir said in the start, we meet Australia in the end, I can see India, probably that one match which they beat in the tri-series can probably be repeated here. Thank you.
Thank you guys. As a quick closing, I'd like to call upon 3 of our senior journalists to present mementos to our panelists. Ramu